Hi everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Torqueconomics Weekly Automotive Update. This video covers the 25th to 31st of January. Let's start with the headlines of the week. Although it was first reported by The Drive in July 2024, a Mazda logo change made its actual public debut this week. The new logo is said to be designed for the smartphone age, whereby the metallic 3D design is replaced by a black flat figure. Reactions have generally been negative towards the minimalism design. Next, it was reported this week that the car and bike manufacturer KTM is deeply in trouble. Figures have surfaced that the company owns 1,600 creditors, a combined 2.7 billion euros. There are not enough assets on its balance sheet to cover this level of debt. Personally, I would be incredibly sad if the brand ceased to exist, as they make some of the best street legal race cars as well as dirt bikes. Moving on, there was an update to the proposed merger between Honda, Nissan and Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi will reportedly drop out of the merger for an undisclosed reason, whereas Renault is still in negotiations with Honda on a price which it will sell Nissan. Renault currently still owns a significant portion of Nissan, approximately 36%. The Honda and Nissan deal will make the combined entity the third largest automaker in the world, only behind Toyota and Volkswagen. I just hope that we will see some new exciting performance cars as a result of these changes, although chances are slim. Alfa Romeo announced this week that they will be scrapping the full electrification targets of 2027 set by the brand earlier, at least in North America. Alfa Romeo is still owned by Stellantis, so perhaps it is unsurprising as the company's other brands, including Dodge and Ram, were also pausing their EV launches, with Dodge bringing back the gasoline version of the Charger due to market demand. Alfa Romeo is expected to launch the new flagship Giulia model in 2026. We wait to see whether these delays in EV plans will impact the new vehicle, originally reported to be an EV or hybrid only. There has been a trend for car companies even before the current US government to scale back ambitious EV targets. Mercedes first scaled back their targets all the way back in February 2024, targeting 50% electric sales by 2030, whereas Volvo is their targeting September to 90% by 2030. The wider Volkswagen group have lagged behind in EV adoption as well, with their flagship Bentley announcing 2035 rather than the originally planned 2030 in November. Let's now talk about self-driving. Rivian's CEO was quoted as saying the company was ready for an eyes-off system in 2026, which would be level 3 autonomous driving. This follows on from the news this week that Waymo, which is Google or Alphabet's self-driving arm, is expanding its testing to 10 new cities in 2025, starting with Las Vegas and San Diego. The company offers ride-hailing services as part of its testing across the USA. A Chinese startup called We-Ride is also expanding their robotaxi business, reaching across 30 cities in 9 countries including Japan, Europe, and the Middle East. Note that new Chinese companies are restricted from the US for autonomous driving testing. We shift our focus to electric trucks. A Japanese company called Z Motors has an American-based subsidiary called ZM Trucks, which is set to build a large electric truck manufacturing facility in California. Albeit a mundane story, this was quite surprising, as it comes at a time when California has just withdrawn its request for federal permissions to enforce zero-emission truck and tram mandates in the state. The withdrawal was done in anticipation of opposition from the Trump administration. Current electric truck manufacturers are struggling. California still enforces a rule requiring manufacturers to sell an increasing number of zero-emission trucks annually. These manufacturers are placed in a difficult position, whereby their customers have little regulatory incentive to purchase them. The typical driving range of 200 miles for the trucks are a huge disincentive compared to the traditional counterparts. Turning our head to the European EV tariffs. BMW has joined Chinese OEMs in opposition of the tariffs imposed on Chinese manufactured vehicles. BMW makes their Mini Cooper and Mini Aceman crossover in China. They face a 20.7% tariff on these vehicles under the current regulations. Staying on the topic of EVs, Tesla's Q4 results from 2024 was quite surprising. Despite their automotive revenue being down by 8%, their overall revenue was up by 2% from energy storage and regulatory credit sales. What was more comedic about Tesla this week was Elon's rejection to attend a conference hosted by the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund. The fund owns 0.95% of Tesla and voted against Elon's proposal of a $56 billion compensation package at the company's last general meeting. There has been a trend of Elon acting more emotive recently, and I am not sure if this is contributing positively to Tesla's brand image. I guess maybe Elon doesn't have to worry too much, given the stock is up 2.49% in the week after their Q4 results. This was as a result of the company also announcing a robo-taxi business in June in Austin. We move on to this week's They Just Cannot Make It Right section. We start with Tesla again. They are recalling 1.2 million vehicles in China with a software issue. Although I'm not too sure if this should be called a recall, given the rectification is a software update done remotely. Next, Honda is recalling 290,000 vehicles in the US due to fuel injection software issues. The fix, similar to Tesla, is also a software update, but this has to be done at authorized dealers instead. Lastly for the week, Kia is recalling over 80,000 Niro EVs and hybrids in the US due to potential airbag and seatbelt failures. This is due to a wiring problem, and the recall will replace the affected wiring routing, which is quite complicated. Finally, we move on to our releases and discontinuations monitor. Morgan, the British retro manufacturer, is set to launch a new flagship sports car. Reports suggest that it will be adorned by the BMW B58 Straight 6, currently in service with the Supra, Z4, as well as the 40 trim of the 2, 3 and 4 series. BMW themselves are also making several updates. They unveiled the 2025 iX electric SUV facelift this week. It retains the large kidney grille design, which I find god-awful, and adds more lights which no doubt will be expensive to fix in an accident. What was perhaps more interesting for the brand though, was the announcement of a top-of-the-line performance CS trim for the M3 wagon. Previously, the CS trim was reserved only for the sedan. The new car produces 542 horsepower from the S58 engine. In SUVs, the 2026 Toyota RAV4 was spotted for testing in Detroit. The new model is likely to go hybrid only to meet increasingly stringent emissions regulations. The Chinese company Xiaomi has revealed further details for the upcoming YU7 to complete its model family. The crossover takes inspirations from the Toyota Crown, as well as the Ferrari Purosangue. The powertrain will utilize two electric motors, with 220 and 288 kilowatt outputs on the front and rear respectively. The car is expected to launch in June. Now, that was all for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and please look forward to weekly videos on an ongoing basis. On that bombshell, goodbye.